I mean, I feel bad for new, old, and current DBD players. I mean, when FNAF comes in the summer, they gotta go against not only a good DBD killer player, at least I like to think, but they also have to go against a good FNAF player. Like, it's the best of both worlds put together. They're cooked when they go against me. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about today is my predictions for the FNAF times Dbd X crossover. I've seen a lot of other videos like this. I wanted to put my own 2 thoughts in about the killer, survivor, maps, potential perks, and potential power for the killer. That's about it. I'm not really going to talk about add-ons or anything because, again, we don't know what the power will be. I just want to take a guess. We know, of course, that it was announced last year, and then May 9th we're going to get a showcase, potentially, of the characters, maybe the power and stuff, we don't know, maybe the map, we don't know. But yeah, I just want to hopefully see if I can get any of my predictions right when it comes to May 9th. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. First off, the characters, I think Springtrap will be the killer. It just makes the most sense. Obviously, Freddy is the mascot for Five Nights at Freddy's, of course, that is true. But Scott Cawthon, the creator of FNAF, wants it to stay, lore accurate, wants it to stay accurate to his IP, his license. So, it wouldn't make sense that Freddy or any of the animatronics would be the killer, and the reason why is because the whole point is when they attack people in the games, in the books, it's because, of course, the ghosts of children, they're doing it out of fear and defending themselves. They don't know any better, right? That's the whole thing. Whereas, it just wouldn't make sense that they would then be killing people here. Obviously, maybe they'd see their fear here. But if we want to stay accurate to what's really happening, it would make sense to be Springtrap. Not only does William Afton kill the children, of course he's the child murderer, he also kills people. And I think his weapon would be a knife. In the movie, he used a knife. In the Silver Eyes book here, from a quote, he used a knife. And I quote on page 238 of the Silver Eyes original novel, "Then he saw the knife. The rabbit held a slim silver blade. Its big, matted paws should have been too clumsy, but the officer knew as he stared down at it that the rabbit had done this before and would easily do it again." And then again, like I said, in the movie, Springtrap William Afton uses a knife, and so it would just make sense this would be the weapon. It kind of sucks that it's a knife. It makes the most sense. I think it should be a tool or something more different, just because we have so many characters that use a knife, like Michael and Chucky. But again, a knife, I wouldn't be too upset. It would just stay accurate to what he is, again. And plus, Springtrap William Afton, whatever, has the most, I think personally, cosmetics that there could be. If we want to talk about skins, licensed skins, you have, of course, Springtrap, and it's bloody cosmetics for P4, 5, and 6. But then you have Glitch Trap, you have Burn Trap, you have Afton from FNAF 6. You have just the Spring Bonnie before it becomes all, old and ragged and all that stuff. You have maybe, it could be a normal skin or even a legendary skin of the purple guy or William Afton himself without the rabbit. Or another legendary skin could be Vanny. I've seen people saying it would be really funny if Vanny was the killer. No, it should be Springtrap. Vanny was, again, obviously a completely different situation. She was coerced into doing whatever happened. She was brainwashed, all this other stuff. Through Glitch Trap. It should not be her. It'd be cool if she was a legendary skin, but no, it should be Springtrap. I think Springtrap should be the base there. And again, all the skin potential would be cool. You also have all the other unique skins from like the AR game if they want to go that route, like the Easter and all that stuff. But yeah, I think the survivor should be his son, Michael Afton. I'm not too up with the lore. I know from FNAF like 1 to VR, the first one, that's about it. But I know Michael Afton, he's the one who goes through all the stores trying to fix all that his father did, all this stuff. It would just make sense that he would be the survivor. Now the map. Here's where I think it gets interesting. I think the map should be either FNAF 1 or FNAF 3. FNAF 1 because it's the most, I feel like, iconic. FNAF 3 because it is Springtrap's map. Now, I think there should be 2 variations that it could be. Number 1, it's just the entire map of FNAF 1, so the entire building. Obviously scaled up way bigger, maybe added extra rooms, who knows. That would be a little bit interesting, I think. As mentioned previously when I talked about the DBD X Fnaf announcement, they're kind of similar to the Nostromo map. How, there are those pipes that break, and if you run through them and a killer survivor hits them, you're slowed down with the hindered effect because you get like frozen and all that stuff. That would be very unique. And then also, I think what they could do here is have the doors. Pretty much, if you're a survivor, you can go in and you can shut the door. That would be very cool, very unique. Or, again, similarly, they have kind of like the map from the Unknowns map, I forget the name, not the Garden of Joy, it's the movie theater one, but how it's half outside, half the building. They could do that, have the entire FNAF 1 building, and then have an outside portion like parking lot or a little bit of a forest or something. Similarly, FNAF 3, it could be the entire map of FNAF 3, entirely Fazbear's Frights, or they could have it half outside with a parking lot and whatever else, and half the map there. Nothing really unique. Maybe there are some events survivors go through, whatever. And that takes me into the power of Springtrap. First off, I think he should have, similarly to the alien, the xenomorph, and how he goes through those tunnels, it should be a vent. Have a vent. Obviously, all perks are always slightly tweaked and always slightly different. Freddy can teleport to every single gen, whereas Onryo can teleport to every TV next to the generator. Michael Myers stalks everybody to get his power. Ghostface stalks people individually to get his power, so they're very, very similar, just small tweaks. Obviously, if Springtrap goes through vents, maybe they'll make it look different, maybe he can't see footsteps, maybe, I don't know. It would be different, but I think they could do that for map traversability. I think that'd be good. Obviously, there's a bunch of new players coming, and or at least they're expecting a lot of new players to come. I mean, FNAF is the biggest license they've been getting. Obviously, with that, they want this to be very good. I think Springtrap, or the FNAF killer, I'm just going to keep saying Springtrap, that's my assumption. Obviously, they need to be, I think, pretty powerful, just because of the fact that they're coming, they don't want to mess this up, all that stuff, so, yeah. That would be part of his power. The other power, I think, would be really unique, maybe a little bit too strong, but it would be similar to the pig. Obviously, like I said, a lot of killers, ever since, like, Michael Myers, because, again, Ghostface, whatever, they're very similar powers, just with small tweaks. Here's what I think they could do. Sort of how you have to reload as a trickster or huntress at a locker, you have to find a scrap pile. You know, just somewhere randomly around the map. I think that'd be really, really cool. You go ahead, you collect that scrap pile, and then again, randomly around the map, as a secondary objective, you have to build a suit. Similarly, in the books, we know that William Afton's signature, his calling card, the thing that shows that he is a serial killer, is he stuffs bodies into suits. What I think he should do, instead of a hook state, he has to build these suits up. And then when you have someone on your shoulder, you put them into the suit. What this would then do is it's similar to a pyramid head cage, where you cannot use deliverance, you cannot unhook yourself, you're just stuck in there. Obviously, you have to build them up, again, collect all the stuff like a huntress or a trickster, or go find them and build them up like a trapper trap, you know. You have to build it up over time to get it. But when you put them in, they have to consistently hit skill checks. Maybe they're very difficult skill checks. When you miss one, it goes down, and then, of course, it makes you go down faster to your second hook stage, and they're going to be consistently, kind of like when you're on that second hook stage. When you're on the second hook stage and you're put into a trap, the skill checks get even smaller and even faster. Again, that would be his whole power, would these be these suits that you have to set up. If a survivor is to save you, it can't just be an unhook action. Obviously, you were in a suit, and they have to do all these spring locks and all this stuff. And if they mess up a skill check, that affects your bar. But it might take like 5 to 10 seconds to do some skill checks of their own to then get you out of the suit, or your hook stage. And if you're placed into a suit around the map, and all this stuff happens, you're placed into one, and you're dead on hook, then you just die. It just kills you, similar to a saw trap. I think that would be very unique. It goes well with William Afton and Springtrap's whole signature or whatever. I don't think it would be too overpowered. Maybe that after someone gets saved, maybe the trap breaks and you have to repair it with some more of this scrap around the map. I don't know. I just think that would be very unique and very cool. It just seemed like, again, it takes a bunch of the stuff that's already in the game, so it wouldn't be too easy to code. It puts it around to his signature. I don't think it would be super strong, like, you know, S tier or whatever, but obviously having map traversability and then something like that to slow them down, especially with the hook stages. You don't really have a killer that does that. Obviously, Pyramid Head and all that does, you just hook them right away and stuff, but something to effectively make it take longer to unhook someone, or effectively make it more dangerous when they're in a hook. I just think that would be more unique, more cool. And then his Mori could also be something around maybe the whole doing something like the suits again. That's his whole calling card. So maybe instead of the power, the Mori would be putting someone into a suit and they die. I don't know. That would be unique. And then some perks. I just think that would be good for at least the killer. I didn't really think of any survivor perks, because obviously Michael Afton he's survived being spring locked. Maybe there's something to do with that. Somehow surviving being scooped. Sorry. Maybe something for endurance or some sort of healing perk, whatever. But I think at least for William Afton or Springtrap, obviously being an engineer and all this stuff, building some of his own animatronics, I think something that would be unique and important to himself is a gen perk. Obviously, if they're expecting this to be as big of a chapter, as they're expecting it to be, they don't really have any good gen perks starting off. So if people are buying Springtrap, giving himself a gen perk right away, because again, he's an engineer, so all this gen stuff would just make sense. I think that'd be very good for him. But that is what I would like to see, and those are my predictions on the Five Nights at Freddy's license coming to DBD. We won't know until May 9th, and I'll do a follow-up video right after, very shortly, maybe a couple days, maybe the same day, to see if I got anything right, what I got wrong, and, well, like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and I feel really bad for the people who are going to have to go against me, as well as a FNAF veteran and a good player, and a DBD veteran and good player. So yeah, without further ado, hope you guys did enjoy this little video, and I'll see you all when that happens on May 9th, or a little bit after. Bye, guys!